Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Brother Retrospective podcast. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, here on a journey to talk through all of the Big Brother seasons on the way to Big Brother 27. Today, we are going to be talking about Big Brother 12, and I have some very special guests to talk about the season with. First, I have Peridiam, who's here. Peridiam, the YouTuber extraordinaire. How you doing, Peridiam?
Not too shabby. I will say I have a storm rolling in. I hope you guys can't hear the rain. If I lose connection, I will try to get Brittany's husband over here to fix the technical side of it.
Tech support, yeah.
Yeah, the tech
I'll
support.
let you borrow him.
But otherwise, no, I'm happy to be here. I requested, of all the seasons to be on the podcast for. I was like, how many people are going to be? I don't think we're going to be getting in line, a long line for BB12. Love this season, but I was originally going to go on for. And I wanted to say all this with Brittany on the podcast. I'm like, I'm happy to be here though, Taran. And more than that, we have an actual player from the season to basically fact check us constantly and put us on our place.
And I volunteered myself to be on this podcast. I literally reached out to Taran and said, hey, I would like to come on, please. I invited myself. I wasn't even asked. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And I watched Big Brother.
Both of you requested to be on Big Brother, this podcast.
Okay,
So
great.
there was a line.
See, there was a line. You know what? You might have been.
This was actually the biggest line, yeah.
Thank you. Deservedly. Great. That's great news. And yeah, I watched the premiere yesterday. So I am in the headspace. We're back. We're in 2010. I happen to have my premiere dress actually right here.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
And she's a real collector's item because she's from Forever 21. Rest in peace. I don't know if you've heard, but Forever 21 is shuttering. They're closing all their stores.
No longer forever.
It's no longer forever. So this is a collector's item.
Wow. I mean, for many reasons.
There you go.
Yes, of course, you heard her. Brittany is with us to talk through Big Brother 12. And what a season. Now, before we get into Big Brother 12, I do have some results from last week's podcast, which is that I had the audience polled to see which 3 players from Big Brother 11 should be on the DVD cover poster. Do you two have any guesses for who the audience?
Yeah, I was going to say, let me guess.
Yeah.
Definitely Jeff and Jordan.
Okay.
So I'm going Jeff, Jordan, and then who won the season? No, Jordan won. Jordan won, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Jeff, Jordan. If it was CBS picking, it would be Jesse.
Oh.
Because CBS loves him. I mean, we've seen him like 700 more times. But who would the audience choose? Gosh, I don't know. What's your guess?
So I thought about that. I was like, I know this question's coming up. My gut, if it was up to me, I would probably do Jeff, Jordan, and probably Jesse.
You think Jesse? I think Jesse if CBS chooses, but if CBS doesn't choose, I don't know that it's Jesse.
But if I was looking at just the actual questions, like who are the voters of RHAP going to be picking?
Correct.
I think there's a chance you could see like Jeff, Jordan, Kevin. I don't think Jeff. Another issue I thought is like there's Russell, who was the MMA fighter, and I think there's a chance that if people are voting for him, they might split between him and Jesse because they're both that kind of archetype. So I'm like, maybe they need neither of them in the top 3. Maybe it's Kevin. I don't know.
Well,
I think I met Kevin once.
Did you?
A million years ago. Yeah, I really liked him on that season. Do you watch the entire season before you do this, or do you just like look at the highlights?
I do not rewatch the whole season.
No, I don't either.
It would be way too funny. Week to week, watching the whole season would be
No, I'm going off memory.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can reveal.
15 years.
This is a while.
It was a while ago. Yeah. I can reveal that perhaps CBS is in the audience because Jordan, Jesse,
Okay.
and Jeff
Is that simple?
In that order as well. It was Jordan number 1, Jesse number 2,
Of course.
number 3.
No way. All right.
Yeah.
You got some House of Villains fans in here, I guess.
I do believe Kevin was on the list here as well. Kevin, Shima, Russell, and Jeff. Russell a bit.
Shima, an icon.
Yeah. Shima only 4% behind Jeff. So
I'm not surprised. I
Yeah.
thought about it.
Nice. See, I
All
haven't
right.
watched season 11 since season 11 either, but so when you're
Wow.
saying their names, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about Shima throwing her mic pack into the hot tub.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Listen, that's what we're here for, to bring back memories. All right. Well, Big Brother 12 comes around in the year of 2010. I've just graduated high school in
Nice.
2010.
Okay.
Wow.
So I remember this season a lot. I was like the summer before going to college, and
Nice.
and I was not the biggest Big Brother 11 fan, but I was interested in Big Brother 12. I really liked Matt. I was very intrigued by Matt Hoffman and his whole shtick. Like, oh, I'm a Mensa guy. I'm gonna outsmart
No, he
this
said
game.
that like 4 times in the premiere. He tells us he's a genius like 4 times. But it was really funny. Like I was noticing watching the premiere how they were really leaning into like the caricature version of each person. And you could you could assign a key word to each person. Like they were really honing in on one thing, and his was definitely genius. Like they really wanted to drive that home for him because he said it a million times.
He very, very much did. Of course, I think the Big Brother 12 cast in general is one of the strongest, well-rounded, and I'm not just saying that because Brittany's here, but between Matt, Brittany, Brenchel, whatever you might have an opinion on with Enzo, he certainly made a mark. And then even some of the more forgotten characters like Reagan was very entertaining on the season. And then even some of the early boots, Andrew was a riot, Annie was wild, Kathy, you kind of don't miss on the cast.
No, I think the cast is excellent. And just if you're looking in terms of different types of people and, different walks of life and stuff, in that way, it was very well-rounded. But whenever I was rewatching the premiere, I was dying at just remembering how old we thought Kathy was. And she was 40.
Right?
And to us, she was geriatric, 1 foot in the nursing home. We thought that she could pass away of old age in that house. And to the rest of us, so many of us were so young. I was 22. I think Hayden was super young. Kristen was really young. Lane was really young. We had Monet was really young. A lot of people were really, really young. And so to us, Kathy was 140. I just remember we were all just wow, can you believe she's here? Look, she's doing so good. She's doing so good for her age. That she should be decrepit and literally just withering away into the floor is what we expected for someone of her age, because that's how young we were. To us, 40 was a million.
Well, I think what's interesting to me too is looking at the ages. Andrew was 39. He's only 1 year younger.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but see, we didn't pay attention to anything about Andrew except for just his weird quirks. We didn't know how old he was. We didn't care if he was a podiatrist or a shoe salesman. Nothing was clicking except for just his eccentricities. We weren't thinking about his age. Kathy was the oldest one in the house. And so to us, she was ancient.
We are closer now, if we were on this season, to being stuck in the caramel than anyone else.
Correct.
If any of 3 of us were on right now.
And to be clear, I was only maybe 1% more physically capable than Kathy. Maybe 0.5%. I was so bad, and was so grateful that Kathy was there with that 0.5% worse, so that like at least I wasn't the worst one in the caramel, because I was almost stuck myself.
Well, I think it was the first episode right away that you have your iconic slippery wiener quote.
Losing your dignity.
That's absolutely correct. That was episode 1. And if it were not for that, like crunching of the knee backwards situation, like we would still be out there trying to hang on a wiener. Like neither of us, it was not happening for either one of us. That was never going to happen. It wasn't happening that day or any day. Like it was just not possible for either of us. So luckily, you know, I had some ligature go awry and get me out of it.
Who knew you'd start with hanging on a slippery wiener, and then most recently you were hanging from a helicopter on the Traders?
Yeah, right. The helicopter, much more dangerous, much more scary, but both intimidating in their own way.
Yeah. So I think so. The interesting thing about Big Brother 12 is that they definitely like pared back the amount of like game breaking twists compared to Big Brother 11.
They hung it all on the one big twist. We got one idea, and that's all we need. We're gonna break this thing wide open. We got the best twist idea in the history of time. Let's go for it. And you say it first, because I'm
the
checking
saboteur.
Something.
The saboteur.
That's what I say. But Julie says saboteur.
Saboteur.
Saboteur. And so I was watching and I was like, why is she saying saboteur? Is it saboteur? I call it saboteur. Is it saboteur? Are we wrong?
Saboteur.
I mean, if Julie says it, who are we to deny?
I'm looking it up on Google, and the pronunciation says saboteur.
Julie calls it saboteur, and you know that she wouldn't show up a fool on TV. Also, what I would like to point out, I'm sorry, I'm really hot right now because I like literally talked about this all day on my Patreon. So I'm like, I have all the facts. Julie, my jaw dropped because again, I haven't watched any of this literally since it originally happened. To see Julie in that skirt suit on the premiere. Okay, you're not going to remember this. She was wearing a skirt suit on top, tailored skirt on bottom, like a real professional journalist. Like she was piping in on World News Tonight, breaking news in the Middle East. We got a situation. No macrame dresses, no ponytails. We were like serious back then. This was like serious time. My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe my eyes. This is like real professionalism happening back in 2010. And remember the little button she used to drag around the stage?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. And when I watched that on the premiere, I was like, oh, I missed that little button. And now we're so casual. Now we're in jeans, now we're in fringe, and now we have a bob, like an inexplicable bob for no reason. No, back in the day, we were pulled together. We were poised, and we were like really doing something. We were really bringing seriousness and game to primetime evening.
I pulled it up. She's wearing this red. It's a hot red, and she looks great. She's holding a little clicker. Yeah, it's a suit.
Full blown suit.
There it is.
Try to catch Julie.
There you go.
Is this not news anchor like all the way? Like, are we piping?
This is serious business.
Breaking news. This is serious. Like, what? This saboteur is on the loose, and we are going to do something here. Like, there is something to be done. I cracked up. I couldn't believe it. I mean, compared to now, what you see Julie in, she's like, it's like summertime flirty. I got a bob this week.
All right, let me pull up season 26 premiere and see what she's wearing.
Pull it up because every time it's a jump scare. Let's see it. Okay. All right. We've got some exposed shoulders. We're looking very slim and trim and beautiful. We've got the hair pulled back into like a half situation, but we're not at the news desk.
No,
back in 2010, we were straight off of the news desk.
Julie had a lot of like journalistic. There was a little bit of that angle for the first 12, 13 years of the show.
There's season 25.
It's 25. Okay.
Look at that. Look at that side pony.
Oh, she's got a lot of looks over the years.
A lot. And in a one shoulder moment. I'm telling you guys, I think she was wearing pantyhose back in 2010 under that suit. It was serious. Times were serious. There was a saboteur in the Big Brother house, and we were going to figure it out.
Yeah. So yes, saboteur was the twist, and then of course we're eventually going to get the diamond power of veto. But it's really the season where, you know, if season 10 was the back to basics, there weren't really many actual twists. Season 12 was kind of just like the season of twists flopping.
Well, that's a lot of seasons of Big Brother, but yeah.
How
I think this one might
they?
have the loudest thunk out of the
Like
week.
how pissed were they when they realized Amy was going? They were like, "You've got to be freaking kidding me!" I imagine that somewhere there's like a storage unit full of the tricks that were going to come out of the bag for the rest of the week. And like they just completely all got
whoopee
squashed.
Cushions, and they had so many padlocks to lock all the doors, and none of them got locked.
They had so many good ideas. That think tank was a cranking, and we foiled their plans.
I gotta wonder, like, obviously we saw what happened, but like, did they not think this was at all a possibility? Like, the thought of,
I mean, they
1
had
in 13, you know,
they had done
it's
season
hard
8.
on traders. Traders is the same thing, and it's like,
well, they can replace
no
them on traders.
First week, I think that it was like a fluke. Honestly, it was a fluke.
Well, on season 8, they picked Eric, and it worked out really well for them.
Yeah.
Like he was exactly what they needed, and
I think it normally works. Like, I don't even think that very much of Annie going had anything to do with us thinking she was the tur. I think that it was just like a fluke.
Yeah. So yes, Annie, of course, the first one out. Here's the cast.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm laying across Brendan of all people.
Okay, you're hard to see. I was like, where's Britney in there? Wow.
That's me in that blue-green bikini. There's
there
Kathy. You know, we helped her down. We helped her onto the mat. Floated her out there. Take it easy. No hard poses for the 40-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Hayden wins the first HOH. This is big. He is. I talk a lot about Hayden as he was the last person to win Big Brother that was unfamiliar with the show. Basically until Taylor Hale, but even Taylor like did a bunch of homework before doing the show. Hayden came in, basically didn't know anything, won the game, and it basically never happened again that somebody with such little knowledge ended up winning a season. And he's also one of the few, there's a few of them winners that won the first HOH and really like kind of like was allowed to set the tone for the season. And that tone definitely lasted basically the entire season.
Oh yeah. I also think, wasn't he almost cast on Survivor? Was that a rumor I'd heard? I had heard that he was going to be, I heard that he and like Fabio from season 21 Nicaragua were like in the same archetype, and they decided to put him on this season and Fabio on that season, and then they both won anyway.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of weird.
I remember hearing that, especially because he was eventually brought on to Survivor.
He was a few seasons later.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a mix back then of people who like got, because I remember Kristen was one who like, she didn't audition or anything. She had like an agent who was like, oh, you should be on this show. But then there were several of us, like myself, I did open casting call. So there were, it was a mix. Like some of us were Big Brother fans. Some of us did like specifically want to go on Big Brother. And then some people were brought in, like maybe Hayden, Kristen, I know for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, he wins his first HOH. He and right out of the gate, you get like sort of the entire theme of the season, which is he's going to nominate Brendan and Rachel together. And Brendan goes on to win the veto. And of course, this leads to Annie going up and going home because you know there was a lot of drama around Annie and her connection to Brendan and Rachel and like the various things that she was doing. There was to my memory definitely a lot of suspicion that she was probably the saboteur, and I'm sure that did not help her case. But given where things end up, you kind of wonder like do you think like, oh man, maybe we should have just taken out Rachel while we had the opportunity?
I mean, I had talked to Matt. I've talked to him a few times leading into this podcast over the years. And I remember him saying like they had narrowed it down to a couple of people as who could be the saboteur in the first week. I think they also thought Kathy might have been, because they basically, when the lights went out in the first like day, I think they were like, okay, half of them were already sitting on the sofa, and there was only like 3 or 4 people that were missing.
That's
which I thought
true.
was an interesting.
I remember my whereabouts were accounted for. Luckily, because of the knee injury, I was posted up with an ice pack, so everyone knew exactly
like you're not
was.
scurrying about in the dark with a knee
That's
injury,
right.
locking the pantry door.
That worked out for me again. But Andrew and Brendan were both unaccounted for, I recall specifically. And yeah, I guess
so that's
anyone
what Matt
who was on that couch really like was kind of screwed because they were closer. And
Matt had said that they started, part of the main reason they focused, like the Brigade came together, was because they knew that all the guys there were not the saboteur.
Yeah. The tur.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I don't remember really feeling at the time like, oh, it's for sure Annie. Like, I don't remember feeling strongly about it, but I'm sure other people maybe did. I thought that it was Andrew, to be honest with you. I just thought
not a bad shout.
His behavior was so, like, he volunteered to sit out of the first HOH competition. He was just like really eccentric, and he was laying behind the couch when the storage room was locked, and I don't know what he was doing, like being funny.
I don't think he knew what he was doing.
Woohoo, let me touch your shoulder. I don't know, but so I remember thinking that, like, I was pretty sure it was Andrew, but I remember there being like a feud with. I remember the Brendan, Rachel, Annie situation. I don't exactly, I'll figure it out as I watch, but I don't really recall how I got on her bad side, but I know I was by the power veto meeting because that was the meeting, right, where she was like, twisted spiders, twisty Britney, something about like twisting webs, weaving webs, something, I don't know. And
well, so you're a gamer, right? That's you're such a gamer. You're known for that.
I was weaving webs and lies. And so I was like, well, I'm voting you out. So bye. I don't know if you're the tur, but you don't like me anymore. At that veto meeting, it was obvious. So you got to go. And I haven't watched past the premiere yet. I'm sure it will all come back to me in due time. But I do know that by the veto meeting, we were like enemies, I guess. She stayed mad at me for a really long time too, by the way. Like, I'm pretty sure she's
after the season.
Yes. Isn't this wild? Like, viscerally has hated me forever.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember it being like 10 years and there were still like random tweets, which it would be like whenever I would like make an appearance or, you know, when I did season 14 or whatever. And I would just be like, really? I mean, because I literally don't even remember what happened. I know I made fun of your shoes and your eyeshadow, but like 15 years seems like a long time for some cosmetics.
Well,
are you sure that she's not just taking her role really seriously and making sure to sabotage you at any given opportunity?
Are we sure that no, I'm not sure. She could still be embodying the tour today and still trying to wreak havoc on my life. I don't know. No, she was so mad. And she was the first boot. And not to tie this back to Survivor, but earlier when we were talking about Nathan last night saying like how important it was, the 9 days have been so meaningful to him. And I'm like, okay, but to put that in context, that's less time than the first boot spends in the Big Brother house. Because the first week of Big Brother is actually almost 2 weeks. You move in way before like the first week starts. And so the first HOH is an HOH for like 13 days, 12 or 13 days. Like they're actually at HOH for almost 2 weeks. So by the time Annie got the boot, she had spent more time in the Big Brother house. I'm sorry, I think I said Nathan, but I meant Thomas. Then Thomas had spent on the island in Survivor. And he's like, this has changed me for good. I am changed for good. I'm a different person now. And I'm like, okay, to put that in context, That's like Annie saying she's a new person because of her time on Big Brother, and she was the first boot.
Yeah, maybe she is a new person now, given her behavior after. Maybe it
I'm
did
not
actually.
sure.
Maybe the
But if
13
you-
days did affect her.
But just like connect those dots, and then it makes sense why that statement is to me so funny, because it's like
it
you
doesn't hit
forget-
as hard on Survivor. I feel like the 9 days out of 20. I'm like, I mean, you eat rice and coconut for a week, and it's like you're a different person. I don't know.
I mean, I guess
I don't wanna
he's
downplay
technically
it,
there
but-
like a third of the game. That's true. Whereas on Big Brother, 13 days out of 90 or whatever is not nearly as substantial. But
No.
still, Annie spent longer in the Big Brother 12 house than he spent on the island. Truth. Fact check it.
Well, there's a couple of things just quickly that happened in week 1 that we are going to get. Oops, that's not the right one. Matt Hoffman, Enzo, Hayden,
Oh yeah,
and Lane are going to come together and create the Brigade.
Mhm.
The beginning of the end, some might call it, for the game of Big Brother.
I mean, you thought Annie going was the beginning of the end. Here we go. The strategic game. The strategic game starts and ends right here.
Mhm.
So funny. And then they each get their side person. So that's the agreement. We're each going to get a side person and protect them and gain their trust. And that was crucial. That was a big part of it. I don't think that like just the standalone alliance probably would have fared as well, but a big component of it was getting that side person in.
Yes. And I think what's funny about it is that, like, Matt Hoffman comes on, he calls himself a genius, and like reality television, you're like, okay, I can't wait for this guy to like for this to blow up in his face, because obviously he's not a genius. And then like this alliance comes together, and they're like, and he's saying like episode 1, 2, 3, I don't remember which one. He's saying like, I think this is going to be the greatest alliance of all time, and the audience is like, what a joke. Like these boys, they have no idea what's coming for them. And then, I don't think that they necessarily take the claim for that spot. Certainly not anymore, but they have a lot of success in the season. And we end up seeing that, this alliance really, as I said, sets the tone, not only strategically for the season, but also kind of socially for the season. A lot of people end up calling this one kind of like the summer camp season, because there's just a lot of like hanging out, playing pool, and then I guess watching Reagan.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah,
I hear you.
Watching Reagan and Brendan and Britney fight as well as what we're doing.
Sorry,
here.
I think I'm back. Sorry, can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yeah. I hear you.
Okay. Yes. So there's another thing, Brittany, you're gonna bond with Monet pretty early on. I remember watching it in like my first memory of you is you and Monet as like a duo. And I remember the two of you like sitting outside, backs against the wall on the ground, and just like joking around and like making fun of people.
Yes.
And
Ventral. Mostly.
And it was so funny. And I think what's funny to me is that like I remember reading online at the time, there were a lot of people like, oh, these catty girls, like this, they're so mean. And then, by the end of the season, everyone had like fallen in love with you. But I thought it was very funny, like the initial impression.
Well, what's funny too is if you go back and watch the premiere, and I was saying like every person kind of has like one individual character trait that they really hone in on, and that like you could reduce that person to one word. I hadn't noticed this before, but going back and watching Monet's intro package, it was very much leaning towards like her being kind of catty, in that like it showed her saying like, I don't want to live with anybody who's nasty, or it was something like that. Like it was kind of like her giving like I don't want to say, I don't want to say Monet's catty. I mean, we were so young. I was 22 years old and she was like something of the same age, but it was kind of like that in her intro package, like setting that up to where, you know, and then obviously as we moved in, we bonded and everyone is on our nerves. Like everyone, like we hate everyone. Yes, like it very much comes out and we just are venting to each other. You know how like you hate anyone that you're in super close proximity to after a few days? This is like we've been living with these people for, you know, over 2 weeks in the reality of it. In the real time frame, it's been over 2 weeks. Nonstop in your face, like it's oppressive and it's you can't get away. Like you cannot get away from these people. And it drives you insane. And so we would just like vent to each other because we knew that we were both on the same page feeling that way. And we could just like, you know, go back and forth. It was very mean spirited, but it was very 2010 appropriate.
Yeah. I mean, it's as somebody else. So I was in a similar, I think where I was just in college at the time. And for me, I mean, it throws me back rewatching this stuff. I'm like, yeah, the sense of humor is a little bit, it bites a little harder, you know, it cuts a little bit closer, and you know, it's a little more honest in a way. It's still mean.
The entire premiere episode was about Rachel's boobs, and like we can't do that anymore either. We can't do a whole premiere episode where 6 different house guests weigh in talking about somebody's boobs. Like that, you don't do that anymore. But in 2010,
Brittany, do you remember hosting those out? You had like a talk show with Reagan and Hayden.
Yeah.
By any
what
chance,
was it called?
It was called Just the Tip.
Just the Tip. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I do remember that.
Yeah, okay. It's good stuff. I mean, that stuff was really biting. You guys ripped into like Brendan and Rachel and
ripped into like everybody. I mean, we had nicknames. You know who got the most strays was freaking Natalie from season 11. We would just eviscerate. This poor girl wasn't even on the show. She wasn't even in the house. And we would just talk so much trash about this Natalie from season 11. Like she became like a character in the house with us when she wasn't even there because we would talk about her all the time. We were just all talking about like last season. It was crazy. Yes.
This is great reinforcement for what we talked about last week, because we talked about how hated Natalie was.
Well, we hated her too. I'm sorry, Natalie. But back in 2010, we were bonding over mutual hatred. It was like a bonding experience to sit there and basically talk shit. Like it made you feel camaraderie.
I very much was like, you know, Rachel and Brendan were a lightning rod. Then you had like Sheriff Kathy, who was kind of just a bump on a log, but she was also like sniping people a little passive aggressively. You got Andrew, who is just like I remember because this was my first season of Big Brother, and the feed turns on, and immediately we are confronted with Andrew and Annie getting into conflict over who knows what. It's the dumbest stuff. And I'm like, I can only imagine. And so the relatable content was watching you and Monet, at least in those first 2 weeks. Just like telling it like it is.
We just would vent to each other. Yeah. And it makes you feel, you know, it makes you feel like bonded in a way, not unlike how people in the real world should talk with their friends about their coworkers or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, of course, it's like human nature. We just don't do it on TV anymore. It's like a bad look now. But back in 2010, this was acceptable programming.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're on the traders and you're calling Ivor furniture, and people are like, "What? She can't do that."
Exactly. So tame. It's so tame now. It's just a different. I'm telling you, 2010 was the Wild West, and early 2000s in general. In reality TV, it was just crazy on everything, not just Big Brother, but same for Survivor, same for like the Housewives franchises back then. Like, if you go watch Dance Mom, kids have been watching that, and this freaking woman is like screaming at these children, like calling these children names. Like it's insane. It would never happen in modern day ever.
Yeah, maybe in that case for the better. Week two, Rachel wins the HOH, and she nominates you and Monet. Not a fan.
Gotta get, you know?
No, I think about this all the time because I'm like, I could have gone home second and literally like, not to be dramatic, not to be Thomas right now, but how different would my life have been had I gone home week 2? I mean, because I've gotten to do so many other things, all from Big Brother 12. And if I would have like not won that power veto competition, would I have gone home and you would have never seen my face again? It's just, it's a parallel universe out there somewhere, you know.
It is. It's super interesting. I always think about
For
that.
all the
Like,
420 people, hone in on this parallel universe theory.
well, like, I mean, also, like, you know, what if Brendan doesn't win that veto? Like, what if somebody wins that veto in the first week and doesn't use it, and one of Brendan and Rachel are the first out? Like, what? Like, there's a whole, you know, there's whole humans that don't exist
it's
potentially.
Crazy, but I could have easily been second. Like, it's crazy. And people for a long time would always say that they rigged that one for me. Man. And I have the best defense if you care to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, which one of you believes that it was rigged? Which one of you said that?
I don't think it's rigged, but I'm
was it either?
There's always the opportunity. Like, I will say I've talked about this in the past. The producers can be dicey. I don't think in this case, week 2 veto, they're gonna do anything weird. But you look at like Big Brother 13 with Rachel coming back. There are a few instances
well, that's the
where
most egregious example.
I'm like, I don't know about that. Or Big Brother 8.
That is the most egregious, and I do think that they will switch the order of competitions. I do think that
I could see that.
That I can almost guarantee you does happen. But what I will say about this one, regardless of what producers did or didn't want, you had Brendan and Rachel competing in that competition. If they wanted to guarantee neither of us won the veto, all they had to do was drop right after us. Boom. It's almost impossible for me or Monet to win. If I drop my suitcase and Brendan immediately drops, Monet drops hers and Rachel immediately drops, guaranteed neither one of us win. That's actually a super unfair competition to have, because if you pair off like that, you can guarantee someone almost. I mean, they would have to drop literally on the second to win it in that case.
And they've done that.
Anytime someone says that, I'm always like, well, it's so unfair. So I'm like, anytime someone says it was rigged, I'm like, well, then they didn't have good strategy, because they could have very easily guaranteed Monet and I did not win the veto that week.
Yeah. Yeah. They've done this before with other seasons. And I know that
now
they
have heard my defense.
And that's a good defense that like people, I wasn't thinking about that, but I'm like, yeah, that definitely has been happened. They've done this with other shows. I think they've done Big Brother Canada as well, where they've had like people just drop right after the person they want out drops. They don't want you to win the veto, drop right after them. And what are are they gonna do? Like to the seconds? No. So yep.
Yeah. So this is
this is that competition.
The first of many competition wins actually this season, Brittany. I remember I went back and went for reindeer games. I did like an analysis of competition history for each player, and people were very surprised that you actually have one of the highest like win percentages in terms of like amount of people you competed against, amount of times you competed, to the amount of comp wins you have. You have, I think, 4 wins in season 12, and I think people,
yes, that's right,
you know, primarily remember you for slippery wieners in terms of competitions, and they don't remember that you actually did win a bunch this season.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I always won, you know, the ones that were more like throwing the ball, bowling was like one of the ones that I won. The ping pong one, you know, super equitable stuff that's like not brute strength. Yeah, I won an HOH that was like a Q&A, a true false, I think. And then 3 vetoes.
Yeah.
Go me.
So
yay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Matt ends up replacing you on the block. That is because he has his own complicated history with Rachel and Brendan that is going to certainly continue. Matt, full of ideas. One of them really worked. A lot of the other ones did not. Those ones included like intentionally being cagey with Rachel and Brendan, and thinking that was a good idea, which, you know, to be fair, he wasn't evicted. But Monet is going to end up taking hit here. Monet, I think, gone too soon. So much potential there. I mean, like Britney, like you said, perhaps Monet, if she doesn't leave here, has an entirely different future in reality television, if not for being the sex.
Exactly. Who knows? I know. Although I think she's doing well. I think she's just fine. I don't think she's ever looked back. But yes, I agree.
Yeah, to some degree, you look at people like Monet and you're like, yeah, she got out. She did good.
She got out early. She didn't go crazy like everyone else.
Yeah, she's completely fine.
So Matt ends up winning the next HOH. Matt goes on a little bit of a win streak himself, winning 2 HOHs in a row. He doesn't compete in the one in the middle, of course. And he is going to, because listen, Matt really just has it out for Kathy. He's going to nominate Kathy and Andrew.
Yes. Well, Kathy's such a threat. You know, he had to get out the big threat to the brigade. Makes sense.
And Brendan wins, doesn't use the veto, and Andrew ends up being evicted unanimously, of course, going out with his big speech because he's got some secrets to drop.
He drops bombs on his way out the door.
He sure does. And I just don't feel like they landed as much as he wanted them to. I don't feel like we were like open-minded to his bomb dropping. Like I just remember being like, oh well, bye.
He
I
tried
didn't
to
really pay that much attention to it.
He was trying to call attention to
Hayden
and Kristen. It's like, yeah, okay, I guess. Which technically it kind of puts Rachel focusing on Kristen a lot the following week.
Yes.
For what it's worth, you go into that iconic HOH comp in the boxing ring.
Yes.
So this is right after Andrew gets evicted.
That's Floaters Grab a Life Fest. That's where that was born. Yeah.
Yep. Kristen.
And Andrew and Brendan were really close. So I do feel like where his words were impactful was definitely to Brendan and Rachel. Because they were close. They were really tight, working together a lot. So I do think that like for her perspective, it was probably very impactful and kind of gave her an idea of where to go next.
And of course, the whole structure of the brigade is built to withstand something like this. The fact that Hayden and Kristen are exposed is not bad at all, actually, because it just means that Hayden and Kristen end up on the block together the following week. And as designed, they have the votes. Yeah.
Exactly. They always knew that the side person was like an expendable piece designed to like insulate each member and that they would always have the votes. I mean, it's really smart. It's very genius. Yeah. It's someone in Mensa must have come up with it.
So yes, Andrew, of course, what a character. Again, you know, I mean, between Annie, Monet, Andrew, Kristen's gonna leave soon. Like, it's, again, you just like, you have trouble finding somebody that feels like a dud on this cast. And Andrew certainly, you know, did his best to go out with a bang. Yeah.
I feel like all of Big Brother 12, it has one of the most, it's just a very reliable cast of people. Like there aren't really any like who were they or what do they contribute, which makes I think Big Brother 12 for me, as somebody who's been covering the show for 8 years now, it's often known as being one of the better TV products, and the episodes themselves are usually pretty fun because every single person in any given week, especially on their way out the door, has their moments to just give you that highlight. In this case, Andrew, he had a couple of moments, but his exit speech and the way that he blows the game up, he tries to at least on his way out the door. Annie, of course, has her whole thing, and Matt and Monet. And then we go into the Kristen going out week, which leads into such animosity. As a whole, none of these people ultimately do a lot to change the season, but they do provide entertainment when they're on screen, which is a lot. It's like a lot of people in Big Brother don't have that. They don't always provide entertainment, and it's just.
And you have Rachel, which is inherently entertaining, and the whole Brinchel story.
Of course,
fun to watch and entertaining. So yes, you definitely had the entertainment value there, even though the alliance was dominating so much, and that can get really, really dull it did manage to keep up the entertainment with more like interpersonal conflict, honestly, and more drama that's just like between people as opposed to drama that's like gameplay related.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So Andrew goes out. Rachel wins the next HOH. So it's the HOHs in this first like half of the season. It goes Hayden first, then Rachel, Matt, which is interesting because of what Matt's doing with Rachel and Brendan. But Rachel now is going to nominate Hayden next to Kristen as planned. Brittany, you win your second veto here, and you don't use it.
Correct.
I do remember there was like almost a plot to save one of the two of them, Hayden or Kristen.
Yeah,
I think it involved like
too.
working with Brenchel. You had to find a way to like mend the bridge, but it didn't ultimately happen. But I remember there was a subplot almost this week.
I think that the reason it didn't happen was because I didn't want to make Brennan and Rachel upset, if I'm remembering it correctly. But I don't, other than Hayden, I think it was just that Hayden was like, I promise you, I'll never vote you out type thing. Like, I think that like, that's how it played out. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, ultimately it was irrelevant because I didn't use the veto. Kristen went home. And I do remember Kristen, like, she never really talked game to me ever. We were not like working together, but when she was on the block, she came to me and said, like, the guys are really close. Like, these guys are really close. And she tried to kind of sell me on that. And I just remember thinking, like, okay, but like, you're also in a duo. And that's like really close too. So I don't know that it's necessarily worse than like you and Hayden. You know what I mean? So it wasn't effective. And also when you're not working closely with somebody and they come up to you with their like Hail Mary, it's a stretch. It's a stretch.
Yeah. And of course, like at this point, you have been working with Lane. You're also close to Matt and Reagan. And so like everyone you're working with is on the same page, going in the same direction. And for her to be like, oh, well, the guys are really close. You're like, yeah, but I'm also close to my people. And
exactly.
you know, I'm not going to just like ditch
I
them
felt
for
kind
you.
of close to Hayden too by proxy of Lane. And I think increasingly, like as it went on more so, but I always felt like Hayden and I were really good. Like if he was gonna win,
Classic
I would have not felt threatened at all. I would have been like, oh no, like I'm good with Hayden. I actually felt pretty close with Hayden too. So yeah, for me, it was like total deaf ears, but definitely also Matt and Reagan were my people. And every time that Brennan or Rachel won, we were just like, oh, like it was like catastrophic blow. Whereas the entire like Brigade alliance, I feel like if Brennan and Rachel won, they were fine because we were so focused on each other that they were just like sitting on the sidelines watching.
Well, and that was one of Matt's unconventional strategies, I think, that did pay off, is that when he is the HOH in week 3, he goes after, you know, he puts up Andrew and Kathy. He did get heat from the Brigade, like, hey, you should be going after Brennan and Rachel. They're the bigger threats. And essentially, like, what he was saying was like, I don't think we should. Like, he intentionally wants to leave Brennan and Rachel in to distract the rest of the players from what they were doing, which was very effective, also fairly risky. I think future sort of like dominating alliances have maybe refined that to include a little bit less risk there because they've sort of realized that if you just win all the competitions, it doesn't matter if there's a distraction.
Well, is that true?
But yes, definitely a huge distraction. Of course, we're going to get the classic segment. I think it might have been this week where Matt is going to wear Rachel's hair extensions.
I was just thinking that.
Yes, and he also had a police officer hat on top of it. Yeah, it was so funny, and a onesie. He was wearing an adult onesie with the officer hat and the extensions. Yes, yes, I know where you're going. Yes, I follow.
Great moment. And yeah, so Kristen leaves and Matt wins the next HOH. This time he nominates Brendan and Rachel together. You again win the veto, and that is the end of Rachel Riley.
Or just the beginning of Rachel Riley.
Right.
Or just the beginning, exactly. Now she's a reality television professional.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was, I mean, they were such a duo, like overtly, like way more than Kristen and Hayden were. And obviously, and also like she kept winning. She won HOH over and over. Like she was actually really threatening in competitions too. I can kind of remember like a which one are we going to go for discussion, but I think everybody was pretty much universally like, no, it's going to be Rachel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Brendan had won 2 vetoes. She'd won 2 HOHs. But I think most importantly, the guys had an in with Brendan.
Yeah, they actually got along with Brendan. Yeah.
And once they took Rachel out, they were basically able to just control
everything he did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like didn't Hayden,
I don't think they would have been able to do that with Rachel.
It was like Hayden and Enzo, I think, brought Brendan in, like we'll be the three guys or whatever.
Yes.
It'll be like a sub, like a slight version of the Brigade, but not really.
Yeah.
Just for Brendan. And yeah, Rachel just went down swinging. She was a lightning rod, you know.
And then she came back like a week later anyway for a twist.
Oh God, yes.
Do you remember that?
That was yeah. So like I put together YouTube videos every week, and when the summer rolls around, I do Big Brother. And I've already been working on mine for this summer, and one of them is looking at like some of the biggest villains the show has had. And let's just say I put together a montage of Big Brother 12 Rachel.
And her fight with Reagan, it's like had a resurgence on TikTok. It's like back on the interwebs, like as of current. It's so funny. And the thing about it is that Rachel, like, let's go to present day. Rachel is completely a professional and is very self-deprecating and in on the joke and laughs at herself. She laughs at all this stuff. Like she thinks it's hilarious. She's good-natured about it. Like she's not still mad at Reagan. Okay. Like everybody's moved on. So everyone can like find the humor in it. At the time, it was very real and very impassioned and very vicious. But in present day, it's minus Annie's week 1 boot. Everybody's good. Okay. Everybody is on good terms and living their best lives.
Yes, the Neanderthal fight was one that definitely struck me when I was watching it, between Reagan and Brendan, and of course Rachel is involved, and you know there's a lot of what is it, the only thing faker than your
something like that.
Oh, that's Reagan said that to Rachel. Yeah, as part of the fight, which she did instigate, and like that is true. He was innocently working out in the backyard. I was playing pool, and I think with Matt, and she came out because she knew he was a have-not, and she came out and offered him a plate of cookies. I was like, "Do you want some of my cookies, Reagan?" Because she knew he was a have-not. And then this is when he just like launched into her, and she was like not prepared for what was coming. Like she was ready to go out with her plate of cookies and like have this moment and make this moment. And she had no idea the like tsunami of insults like coming her way. And meanwhile, like I'm living my dreams over in the corner at the pool table, pretending to continue to play pool while all this is happening. Just like every now and then you just hear like the clink of a ball in the background. And that's me just like watching, dying, like eating my popcorn incessantly, but pretending that I don't even hear anything. What, is something happening over there? I'm just playing pool. I'm just playing some pool out here, you guys. Like no big deal. It was insane. It was insane. Oh
yeah.
My God.
If you rewatch the moment on the season, it's you and Matt are in the back and you're just clearly like what is going on? We need to, and you're both just like, you're not really doing anything. Obviously you're trying to look like you are, but Matt's just like, I think they're fighting. Oh my God, they're fighting. We gotta, and you're just like, we gotta watch this.
So crazy.
It's
So
great.
And
crazy.
Reagan was
I'm
just
sorry,
so
but-
good.
Stepped over you. Oh my God. He's so articulate. Like
Mhm.
he can just, he's just amazingly articulate. And he just like the stuff that he comes up with is insane. He was prepared. Like we had been through enough episodes of Just the Tip that like we had really been marinating on these
Oh,
thoughts
yeah.
for quite a while. Okay. Like we were ready with some stuff. I mean, that worked well to his advantage, that it was top of mind. But yeah, he just absolutely eviscerated her. Like I'm sure that has never happened to her again in the same way. And will never. Like it was crazy.
Yes, but Rachel, very much a breakout star of the season. Of course, they bring her back a season later. We'll be talking about it next
Yep.
week. She ends up winning that season.
Yep.
She goes on The Amazing Race twice. Has her own appearance on The Traitors, and yes, I can also attest that like she very much is like aware of the role she plays on television.
Oh,
She
yeah.
knows how to be
100%.
entertaining. Like,
Yeah.
She's a professional. Okay.
I
And she
mean-
doesn't take it too seriously. Like she will take like a joke. Like she really will.
But also like not in a way that feels like fake. Like she's not like faking it for the cameras. She's just
Right.
sort of like feeding into like, yeah, well let's do it.
Elevating
Let's
it.
I
go.
mean, she is
Elevate.
Vegas, This is what they do. And
She
she
is
manifests
Vegas.
it. She's I would say she's definitely one of the best at what she does. And, it's a testament to the fact that she comes on 12 seasons in and leaves a huge mark on the entire franchise, to be honest.
Yeah.
They plaster her on the wall of All Stars 2.
Absolutely. And
So-
she also, I do think that that's a bit of an evolution too, because I think that on season 12, that was authentically Rachel, that like 100%.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
authentically
Mm.
all of us, because social media was in its infancy. It wasn't at a place yet where it affected how you played or what you said or what you did. Like you weren't really worried about, and we were all very naive, first time on television, whatever. We weren't playing for social media favoritism. We were everybody was just doing themselves. Like they were, everybody was just true to themselves. And so I do think very much so, like she was being authentic to herself. And over the years, I think that like her self-awareness, like she's become such a professional with it and she's very good natured about it. But I think it was very authentic at the time. I don't think whatsoever like she was putting on an act.
Yes,
No,
and of course,
I mean, we watched the feeds. I know, Taran, you watched the feeds. It's like, and Brittany's in the house. It's like, yeah,
you
this
also-
is very real.
yeah,
It's not
and
just
you
the episodes.
You see plenty more of it on season 13 as well. So.
Oh, you see it
Yeah,
all
totally.
in season 13.
Season 13, when she runs and cries in the bushes during the competition, like it's incredible.
It's an incredible moment.
Of course, she has her famous catch line, "Don't get between me and my man," left in
Yes.
goodbye
Yes.
messages. It's just so funny because like you'll see somebody who just got voted out and she'll drop that in her goodbye message and she'll be like, what is she talking about?
Yeah. What is she even talking about? And it was so like hot and heavy, fast and furious. Like, and the whole argument between Annie and her was that Annie was like, oh, Brendan was into me at first. That's what, like that's what like divided them against Annie. And so like these two people barely knew each other, but the loyalty was deep. It was deep and it was real.
I'm thinking about her exit when she got evicted and she said to Brendan in a goodbye message, or somebody who she said it to someone. I don't know if it was this season or the next season. Actually, it might have been 13. She references the DVDs where she says our kids will always be able to watch us growing on DVD. And I went, I wonder if she thinks that Brendan's going to win or she's going to win. Because they get,
someone thinks they're going to be top 3 because
somebody
we
thinks
know
about to
that
get
only
a DVD,
top 3 get those DVDs. That's so true.
Which was a little bit of before the podcast for the people in the chat who didn't know, but Brittany was telling us about what you get if you win Big Brother.
Only the top 3 gets the DVDs, but you're right. She thought that one of them was going to crack that 3.
That's funny.
I never got my case of DVDs, so congrats.
Yes. You had to ask someone for their DVDs, right?
I had to borrow Enzo's, to watch this.
Yeah.
And it's
I guess
one
Enzo got
DVD.
two. He got
It
two
was
DVDs.
one episode per DVD. So it's a massive book because
Oh my
really?
god!
60. It's like 60.
I hadn't heard that.
Like a weight.
Yeah, it is. It's one episode per. So
That's
you
wild.
I mean, it was a case of 60.
That is wild. Yeah, I
So many
guess
episodes.
they should have just told you about Quirky Dude on YouTube. He uploaded all the seasons back in the
Oh
day.
wow. Okay, that's
Oh,
bringing me
really?
back.
Back in the day? No.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
that's how I rewatched most of my rewatches. Is
That's how I got
watched
when
them
I
on
first
YouTube.
got into it. The first 11 seasons, we're watching Quirky Dude.
Mhm.
No, I had to drive to Bayonne and pick up the DVDs. I didn't know about Quirky.
All right. Well, that is it for Rachel for now. Of course, she does come back via Pandora's Box, which is a fun little time as well. But Brendan wins the next HOH, and he is going to put up Lane and Reagan. Reagan wins the veto. Matt goes on the block, and Matt is set to go home. And so this is, of course, the first time that the Brigade is planning to turn on one of their own. It's forced right now because it's Lane versus Matt. But, you know, it was definitely something in the mind, certainly of Hayden.
Yeah.
And this was more, I would say, an opportunity than it was like oh no,
Yep.
there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, it was more like, oh, like convenient. It was convenient for him, really. And somehow Matt didn't take the memo. He wasn't like bothered that he was like clearly on the bottom. It didn't bother him. He was like, I get it.
He kind of fell on his sword a little bit. He was willing to go down with the ship. It was there was some sort of devout. He was devoted to the cause of the Brigade, you know, and letting these guys.
He was in so deep. He was in so deep.
But the funny thing, of course, is that he has this diamond power veto in his back pocket the whole time. So he knows he's going to be safe. But interestingly, of course, this leads into we lose Kathy, of all people.
Oh, Kathy.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Because I think part of what this is for Matt is that, like, from the moment he is nominated, like this whole situation, he's like, none of this matters. I have the diamond power of veto. I'm going to be safe.
Yeah.
So who cares? And you know, like I'm gonna be voted, but I'm not gonna be voted out. So it doesn't matter. And really, what he should have been taking into account is like, oh, they are planning to vote me out over Lane. Like that's not great. But I think that in his mind, it was just like, well, once I use this golden power or diamond power veto, you know, slate is wiped clean. We'll be back on track. We'll win the next HOH. It'll be fine. We'll keep going. But especially for Hayden, who had been like, yeah, like let's do this. It was like, well, now we really need to commit and make sure it happens. But of course, this leads to Matt, who had opened Pandora's box the week before. I think that's how he gets it. He ends up with the diamond power veto. He uses it in dramatic fashion. And much to the chagrin of the entire audience, after even though his own alliance was planning to vote him out, he decides he needs to use this unprecedented power on Kathy.
Correct. And now our beds will never be made again. Never again do we have made beds in the Big Brother 12 house.
And now who is going to be stuck in molasses? You know.
Now who's going to come in last place in everything? Me.
Yeah. Who is going to be the detective, you know, spotting people's lies? That was her whole shtick coming in.
I know. Do you remember that people thought that she was my mom?
I
do remember that.
Yeah, like because we were both from Arkansas. And so early weeks, people thought that like the twist was that Kathy was my mom. Like,
I mean,
really
not a bad guess, to be honest.
Think? I mean, both blonde.
Because the thing is, given Big Brother's history, you might not have even known it. You know?
That's true. It could be a surprise. That's true.
This could still be true, and they just never got around to telling you.
Oh no.
I think they figured it out though after I accidentally kicked her in the head and then she talked about it every day. I think that's when they were like, no, they're probably not related.
Now there is, I will to defend Matt a tiny bit. There is some logic to what he did by my nominating Kathy, because in his mind he has you, Brittany, he has Reagan. He's not going to take out his own people. He also still feels he's good with the Brigade, and that only left Kathy because Brendan was already safe. So it's not that he like chose Kathy out of a lineup and said, I want her gone. It was more so that she was the only remaining option in his mind. Now, of course, knowing what we know, there were basically a plethora of options that he could have chosen here that might have been better, and including perhaps you, because you end up sending him home the next week. But
yeah, whoops.
Yeah. But instead, it's Kathy that takes the hit, and that is the end of Kathy.
Bye, Kathy.
There she goes,
Yeah.
An icon.
Truly.
A legend.
Never forget the molasses. So, Brittany, you win the next HOH. It's your first HOH win.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true. Is it still your only ever? I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Because the other competitions, coaches competitions didn't count as HOH anyway. And there was another competition where I won safety, but not. I didn't go for HOH. I went for safety. That was on season 14.
You won the Naughty and Nice challenge.
That's true. That's still not an HOH though.
It's not. No, it's not.
So this is your only taste of power as HOH. How did it feel?
It felt great. I was salivating. I was excited. Yeah. I loved it. You get the basket, you get the CD, you get the letter, all the things.
Yeah.
Very
you nominate Brendan and Enzo, which makes perfect sense from where you're standing at this point. You are pretty closely aligned with Reagan, and at this point to some degree, Matt. But that relationship has been damaged. You are also close to Lane, obviously, and Hayden. The person you're least close to from the Brigade, to my memory, is Enzo. And of course, Brendan as the other option. So perfect nominations, but unfortunately for you, Brendan wins the veto, and that means you have to make a tough call.
Because it was the freaking Who Wants It Most veto. And guess who didn't want it most? Anybody except for me and Brendan. We're the only two people who really cared. So yeah, I remember sitting in the backyard the night before the veto competition and us trying to guess what the competition was going to be. And I was like, the last thing that it could possibly be is the Who Wants It Most veto. Like, I will die. I will straight up die because he will do anything. If it is that, like, we are so screwed. We are so screwed. And then that's what it was, of course. I spoke it into existence.
We were just talking about this, because there was a shave your head option, right? Because he ends up shaving his head.
There was shave your head, the chum bath.
Would they have made you shave your head, or was there an alternative?
The alternative for me was to dye my hair pink.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And then, you could try to...
I pulled it up. It's like have not for 3 weeks, shaved head, penguin for a week, have not pass, donate your clothes to charity. Oh, and the handcuffs.
The chum bath with the handcuffs. Because Brendan got the handcuffs and the chum bath, and since I was handcuffed to him, I had to stand there and also do the chum bath every hour. So that was great. Yeah, it was like so the person I wanted to win the least won, and I'm handcuffed, and I have to also participate in the chum baths. Fantastic. Yikes. Thanks, guys. Love that. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. And he was like so hot on his button. Like, I don't remember if it shows it on the show, how he was like doing this, like when they were still talking, like saying what it was. He was like this, Like he was going for every single freaking one of those punishments. Like he was going to do anything to win those. Anything.
Makes sense.
We had no chance.
So talk me through the decision to put up Matt, because I know it was not what you wanted to do, and I remember you like being very reluctant, but like basically everyone else was like, "This is what you need to do," right?
Yeah, everyone else was like, it was what you need to do, and there were just like not any good options. And I was really sad about it because I did really like Matt. Like we were pretty close. Obviously, like the only thing I wanted out of that week was for Brendan to go home. Like that was the only goal. So it was a bummer because I did feel, I wasn't close with Enzo really, but it was like I had a pretty good relationship otherwise with everyone else. Like I was in good stead.
And like the thing too is that like, obviously there are other things you might have been able to do there, or might have been able to try to do there, especially given sort of the end game. But the problem with Matt is that like, even if you had spared him there, it just felt like he was never going to, he was like Quinn with Leah, with the Brigade. Like he was just not betraying the Brigade despite what they were doing to him.
No, and I didn't target him because I had like sniffed it out. I had a complete blind spot for the Brigade, and the reason I had that blind spot was because I did also feel close with Hayden. So I didn't see it as like, oh, Lane has this other group. I was always reading it as me, Lane, and Hayden have a group. Even though, like, yeah, I know they like Enzo or whatever, like, I always felt such a part of it with Lane and Hayden both, that's why I was, like, oblivious to that entire alliance. And so I didn't want to betray either one of them, Like, I thought that we were all working closely together. And then, obviously, love Reagan, too. So, yeah, it was sad. But, I mean, whatever.
Well, of course, the other thing we need to mention with Matt is that he came into the game talking about his sick wife.
Oh boy.
Yes. Oh my God. He was so specific too. He was like, her bones, they just like, it drips down like candle wax. Like her bones are literally like burning like candles, like dripping like candle wax.
He did his research.
Down. Yeah. Like, okay. So what he has said is that he was watching something in Sequester that was like about this girl that like really had this condition. And he just thought to himself, like, that's a great idea. I'm going to totally do that. Again, this last happened in 2010. Like this would never, no one could do this now. I'm telling you, we were living in the Wild West. But we all completely believed it. And she played into it too, because in his HOH letter, it was worded something to the effect of like, everyone's helping out and taking care of me, bringing me meals. Like she totally played into it in the HOH letter. Like she was like, yes, absolutely. Like I'm going to completely back you up. So we had no reason to doubt it, like at all. Like, of course we were like, yeah, like his wife, her bones are just they're just burning away, dripping.
I mean, it would
just dripping
it'd
down
be wild.
Like
it'd be wild to doubt it on television.
Yeah.
To just put your stake in the ground and be like, you know what? I don't believe his wife is sick.
Well,
like,
hey,
wild call.
Look over at Sandra Diaz-Twine with Johnny Fairplay.
I mean, we like, of course, didn't doubt it. We were all just like, oh, wow. Yeah. And Andrew later said like, oh yeah, I was like very unsure. Like I had never heard of that. But I mean, apparently it was like a real condition. It was just something that he had heard on television and decided he didn't tell his wife he was going to do it before he left either. He was like inspired in Sequester and just decided to go with it. Like she didn't even know until she heard it on the show. They're divorced now.
From your perspective, did it influence you in any way with regard to Matt? Did it like change how you saw him in any way?
Maybe change how I saw him in that, like, of course you're like, oh, that's a sad story. I don't think it affected me in like, oh, I'm never going to vote Matt out because he's got a sick wife. If anything, to me, that is actually a bad thing, because if I wouldn't want to go to the end with someone who is professing such a tale, because
Yeah.
I would be afraid that they would get sympathy votes. So if anything, I think it works in the reverse for you as you get closer to the end game. I think it's actually a bad idea. No, I don't really feel like it affected me one way or another, other than, of course, when I'm believing it, of course, I think he's like this like great person who takes care of his ailing wife. Like, that's so nice, but I'm still like fine with evicting him.
I mean, it probably does like help, I guess, especially like on first impression. You know, he's like this like tattooed kind of like, you know, a little bit of a rocker kind of vibe.
Yes.
And also like, you know, a little full of himself here or there. You know, I'm sure it softens sort of like it adds some complexity and depth to how you see
To
him.
his image. Yeah.
It doesn't
And
really
that's
have too
one
much
of
of
the funniest people. He's so freaking funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say,
oh
it doesn't
my
really
God.
have too much of an effect on the season itself, other than it happens at the beginning, and we kind of just know this lingering lie. But it really takes effect once we see the jury house start to form, and he decides to be open up. He starts to open up about it.
I remember like so this is the around the time in the season when I felt like the audience really started to turn on the season live. This was the first time I remembered like watching live and seeing so much hate for it. Everyone was just like, this is the most boring season we've ever seen in our lives because the Brigade was just dominating. Now, I think that perspective has changed over time because number one, we've gotten much more boring seasons. And number two, you know, you look back and you look at the cast and you look at the events and it's like, this is really, we really had it good back then. But at the time, people were very frustrated with the direction of the game. And I remember reading things like basically like the only thing worth watching left on the season is people reacting to Matt's lie in the jury house. Like,
which, hey, you know, they got what they wanted, I guess. I feel like the jury was like pretty reactive.
I remember Reagan in particular was like very, very like, hey, that's not okay what you did.
Yeah. And Kathy, I think Kathy was like distraught.
All right. So Matt is gone, and that just leaves yourself, the remaining three Brigaders, and Brendan. Or sorry, and Reagan.
We did also get Pandora's Box with Britney meeting Jesse Goddard for the first time. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the only times I've only met him one other time outside of that. Yeah. Whenever we did that single episode of The Price is Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was there for that. And those are the only two times I've ever met him.
Well, Hayden wins the next HOH. He nominates Brendan and Reagan. Reagan wins the veto, and it's time to finally send Brendan home. You do replace Reagan on the block. You know, this was definitely not the greatest sign for the future here that you were the replacement.
Yeah. Not great. Not ideal. And Reagan saw the writing on the wall too. I remember Reagan, like, I don't remember exactly at which point, but I remember there was a point where it really clicked for him. And I remember him telling me like, oh, we're screwed. Like, we're cooked. And I still kind of was like, well, you're cooked. But I'm in really good with Lane and Hayden. So I'm like less cooked than you though. Because I mean, genuinely, like, you can call me an idiot. That's fine. I'll take it. But I really believed like that I was like in great with those guys. So I never saw any of these red flags as the true red flag, because then I would say to myself like, oh yeah, but like they don't have the relationship with Lane and Hayden that I do. So it's different. You know what I mean?
So I think the question is, and probably was also, if Matt had come to you, you know, after the Diamond Power veto, and been like, listen, they were about to vote me out, so I'm gonna tell you everything. We've been working together. It's called the Brigade. This was our strategy. I realize now my only way forward was with you and Reagan. Like, what happens? Do you believe him?
I think I would have believed him, but I think I still would have been loyal to Lane. Like, I would have probably still tried to keep Lane in the fold. I would have been like probably fine with extinguishing the rest, but my loyalty to Lane was like real deep. I would have wanted him to at least like stay in the longest, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, it's what he should have done. So
Blame Matt. I'll blame Matt.
Yeah, he had the info.
Brendan finally leaves. Of course, we've talked a lot about Rachel. Brendan, I think, probably goes underappreciated as a character because, you know, Rachel, I think, rightfully gets a lot of attention. But Brendan is also like hilarious as like the counterpart to Rachel. And
equally, yes, 100%. It's like the dynamic of the two of them is what makes it so good and so funny. It's you need both parts. And like for me, of course, Brennan was the person that I hated the most of all in the house. Like I just, oh my God, he just like grated on my nerves. I could not tolerate, which is so funny. I mean, you could not tolerate. Yeah, so you're bringing out the nicknames. You know that much, huh? Okay.
I know. I got some transcripts from just the tip. I remember him complaining a lot about the big foot. He had big feet. He couldn't stand on the bucket. He had some gnarly toe problem going on. That was just
he had a toe problem. I was gonna say, for such a well-rounded cast, we had a bang up job of feet in that house. We had Enzo had a toe fungus. I just remember there was one time that they had us like congregate together. I don't remember what we were doing it for, but we were all standing together in the kitchen with like arms around each other and looking down, and everyone's feet, I have excellent feet, but there were so many sets of feet that were so disgusting. And I was just like, my God. So Matt doesn't have toenails. Did you know this? He had his toenails surgically removed. He has no toenails.
That.
I don't remember that either.
So Matt's foot has no toenail. So his toe is just like, there's just like a line in the middle, and then it's just like flesh on both sides of the line. Like there's no nail. There was, I don't remember what the reason was, but he had his toenails surgically removed. Like they're removed.
Like just the big toe or all of them?
Okay, for sure the big toe, but I want to say all of them. But definitely at least the big one is the one I remember. Like I remember that thumb. Okay. Creepy. And then you had
because he was so good at those endurance comps where you stand on a thing. Guess you don't need toenails for that. Yeah.
And Enzo had the fungal nail, and then Brendan's toenails were bad. I mean, we just had a bad collection of feet on that season, other than mine. Mine.
And I know Brendan had said he had like 30 different jobs, I think, before he went on the show.
Oh my God, that was the funniest thing. Do you
it was like everything.
And he also told us that his dad was he may have been, I don't know, like a bricklayer. What are those people called? Like a masonry person.
Yeah.
He was like, my dad laid the bricks for the movie Hollow Man. And for some reason, we thought this was such a hilarious flex. Like we would bring it up to each other all the time. Like, oh my God, like so random. Like of all the bricks to have laid, he laid the bricks on the set of Hollow Man. Like this obscure movie that no one has ever heard of again since it debuted in 2006. And he was like, would tell us about that. But yes, he was a sushi chef at one point, and then the swim coach, and then like 100 jobs.
And
we were
barefoot marathon runner, stripper, substitute teacher, a lawyer.
Yes, substitute teacher. So many jobs. That was like one of our favorite things to talk about too. We
astronaut in training.
Yes, everything. There's nothing he hasn't done.
He was 30.
Nothing.
He wasn't even 40 yet. He wasn't like happy.
And no, he was only 30. And he would work out so hard. He would just be drenching on that elliptical. I mean, buckets, like pouring buckets of sweat. And the rest of us were literally like walking laps in the backyard. Like, okay, what is the next competition going to be? Elliptical? Like, what are we training for?
Yep.
So funny.
Well,
so funny.
that was the end of Brendan here, as he was taken out by Hayden, and betrayed by Hayden.
He's okay. He'll be back next season. You'll be talking about him next week too.
He will be back. He'll be evicted a couple more times.
Yeah.
Of course,
He'll be
then Lane wins, and they take out Reagan. Lane does keep you off the block here, which is smart. On top of, I think the big question of like what Lane might have done at the final four we'll talk about, but Lane takes out Reagan. Is really not much Reagan can do. Lane wins the HOH, and Enzo of all people wins the veto. And
This
that
was
is the
OTEP,
end.
wasn't it? Where like, didn't Enzo and Reagan get into some sort of altercation during the OTEP thingamajig?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it got really physical, as it tends to do on OTEP.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Reagan is just like one of those players who, you're kind of surprised he never came back. I know he had like a complicated relationship with, Big Brother like himself. But man, he was a great character on the show.
I know,
Between
he
like
was.
the arguments he got into, like strategically, he was not bad, and in the same way that like I don't think a lot of people on the season necessarily were bad. There was just like you just had the whole show being run by the Brigade. It was just like there's not much you can do about it unless you figure the whole thing out of the blue.
And then even if you figured it out, you were still up against a lot. Once you were down so far in numbers, like there was nothing you could do about it anyway.
Yeah,
go ahead, go
he,
figure it out,
yeah.
because he did really, like he really did figure it out, or at least he brought it to me and was like, "Hey, like this is what I see. This is bad." But what were you going to do with that information? Like when you're that far down in numbers?
Yeah. I mean, the Brigade won 7 HOHs collectively. Like
go.
From week 5, it's Matt. Then there's 2 opportunities, Brendan and you. Then it's Hayden, Lane, Hayden. Like,
and you have Brendan and I both, in cahoots with certain people in the Brigade that we weren't going to go after. So I mean,
Brendan
really
did try, but the Diamond Power veto stopped it. So Brendan's HOH wasn't even really an opportunity at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there just wasn't. And then you did take out a Brigade member. It just didn't matter, right?
Yeah,
like,
it just
then
didn't
the rest
matter.
of the other 3 just won the rest of the HOHs. Like nothing could have been done.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But Reagan knew. He was smart. He was onto it. It was just too little, too late.
Yeah. Well, of course, that led us to the infamous Final Four.
Oh my God!
Look
Look at my top from Express.
This is not a Forever 21 exclusive.
That one's not Forever 21. That's Express, and I had that in like 2 or 3 colors. Yeah, loved it. Mm-hmm.
This is, I think, this is one of the most memorable moments from the season. I don't know if that's good for you or bad for you in terms of how you remember it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It's 15 years ago. It's fun. It's more funny than anything. But I mean, in the moment, like it was very sad. I was very sad. I was very depressed. It was really complicated with Lane because I really felt so genuinely close to him, and I felt betrayed. I felt like he had this like secret from me. I think that he felt bad. Like he genuinely felt bad about it. It was very like complicated, and then I had to live with them for like the rest of the week. So that was weird. And I really had no choice but to have a good attitude. I mean, I guess I could have pouted about it, but like, why? I did kind of. Like, I mean, I pouted for a while. But at the end of the day, like, there was nothing I could do. For a long time, I would like always look back and be like, oh, I should have went and pulled aside Enzo and like tried to convince Enzo, because he was the one vote. I should have tried to convince Enzo that like I was so much less threatening. He had a better chance of winning, blah, blah, blah. But I mean,
I don't think Enzo's ever changing his mind. I don't think
it would have mattered at all. Like, I mean, I really don't feel like there's anything I could have done at that point. Clearly before that, yes. But at that point, I was cooked. I was fully cooked. And it wouldn't have mattered. I could have given him the best pitch, like literally in the entire world, and it wouldn't have mattered. They wanted to achieve that goal, and they were on the cusp of achieving that goal. And I don't think anything or anyone could have convinced them out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, given that Enzo played again and then made the exact same mistakes, I don't think there's any, like, a second time years later, I don't think there's any shot he's realizing he's making a mistake in the moment.
He had 10 years to learn from that, and he just repeated it. So what are you going to do?
I don't think it would have done any good. I'm very much at peace with it, and things are fine.
So the question that people often debate is, if Lane had won this veto,
yeah,
would he have sent you home?
He said what he would have done, but is that what he would have done?
Who knows? I mean, who knows? I'm sure it would have been like, he probably didn't want to win the veto. Like,
I think that's part of it.
Yeah, because that would have put him in such a difficult position, like, personally. I mean, he probably was like running in the opposite direction of the veto because it would have been so uncomfortable.
Yeah. He said he would have taken you. That's what he said at the time. I don't know if that's true, but he said he would have.
I don't know either. Maybe. So. But I mean, that would have been a real predicament for him, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if he does, let's just assume. Let's just say he does take you. He ends up cutting Enzo. And then Hayden's, unless you end up beating Hayden, I guess you would have had to beat Lane.
I would have definitely won the second one, which was like the mix of the faces. That one was so freaking easy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think that I would have been. Then it would have been me and Hayden.
And it was like part 3 is kind of like a crapshoot. Like anybody could win that, right? It wasn't.
Part 3 is the like who said what.
It was like like the jury gave a random statement.
At the time, it's very random. It's not properly a quiz. So then you take Lane to the final 2. I don't know. I don't actually know who wins there.
I don't know either. I'm really bad at predicting juries, to be honest with you. Like, a lot of times I get it wrong. And I remember thinking, before I went to the jury house, I remember talking with people in the house, and we all thought that Enzo, if he made it to the end, had such a good chance of winning because everyone in the jury house liked Enzo. Everyone thought he was a friend. Everyone liked him. And we were all like, oh, if Enzo goes to the end, he's going to win. And then I remember getting to the jury house and everyone talking about how terrible Enzo played. He does nothing. He's won nothing. And I'm like, what? Like, in the house, we all thought you guys were going to vote for him to win. Like, I was shocked. And so confidence shook. And I was like, from that moment, I was like, I can't predict it. Like, I can't predict what a jury will do. It's so tricky to try to figure out because it's also who else is in there that can manipulate other people. That came into play big time on season 14 in the jury house for season 14. But like, I thought for sure Brennan and Rachel would have voted for Enzo. And then I get into the jury house and they're like, absolutely not. We would absolutely definitely not vote for Enzo. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, who knew? Who knew everybody hated Enzo? I thought everyone here liked him. Like, it was mind blowing. So it's just very hard to predict.
Yeah.
It is. I wanted to quickly ask, speaking of that season 14, years ago, Taran and I did a podcast with another person about Big Brother 14, and I asked him toward the end of it, and I've looked into this because this is what I do. I make YouTube videos. I've been doing it for a living. I was curious to know, do you know for sure that there was, and this is nothing to Big Brother 12, unfortunately, but I gotta take my shot here.
We'll be talking about Big Brother 14.
You
are. I won't be there, but yeah, I wanted to ask Brittany, do you know for sure that there was anti-Dan pact on the season 14 jury? Because I know you were pro Ian, so I'm like, you weren't gonna vote. You were gonna vote Ian no matter what.
I loved Ian. He was like my ride or die. I was gonna vote for Ian no matter what. But what it was that so many people felt so burned by Dan, and then like Frank was the loudest voice, and Frank was really influential with both Ashley and Jen. Okay. And Joe. I mean, really, Joe was easily influenced too. He was influenced by the whole like religious aspect of it. So when Frank came in, he said that Dan used the Bible and used religion and lied on the Bible. And that made Joe like viscerally upset because it was like to him, that was like crossing a line where you're like manipulating religion. Right. Now there are differing opinions on how that went down and if that really happened or not, but that's what Frank told people in the jury house. And so that like really they took that as like being, beyond the rules. Like you shouldn't be able to use like religious, whatever, deities. Let's bring deities into the Big Brother house. I don't know.
Well, listen, that's classic people being mad at Dan. Is the same thing happened on Big Brother 10.
He's Judas, what are you gonna do?
He's Judas.
So it was definitely, there were people adamant like that they would not vote for Dan. They would not vote for Dan.
Okay.
And whenever you're in the jury, you actually go to this panel where you sit down and you write what questions you're going to ask, as jury members. And there are a lot of people in that room. There are producers in that room. And I remember you could tell how pissed off they were. Like you could tell they were so pissed off at that jury for being so narrow-minded about it. And like they actually started like arguing and engaging at times to like try to counter some of the arguments, because some of the questions were so ridiculous. They were like, Dan, why do you think it's okay to swear on the Bible? And so like actually some people like involved in production started to get like really mad because they were like, this can't be happening. Like, are you serious? Like,
well, listen, my advice to them is stop doing the stupid live questioning. Go back to the previous format and stop screening the questions from the jury ahead of time. Like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a hot room where they like couldn't believe that they were finding out kind of in real time that Dan like really had no chance. So I wouldn't say it was like a pact, but it was really Frank. It was Frank coming in, telling that story, and a lot of people were affected by it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the pact was from when you guys entered the game. There was like this sort of like newbie pact of like, we're not.
There was an anti-coaches in general pact.
Yes. The sentiment was certainly there. Yeah. And that was the big.
Right. And really, I think Willie kind of spearheaded that. I think that Willie was a big part of the anti.
He was, yeah.
He did.
Yeah. So sure. I mean, and that was real. Like the coach thing was real. There was more to it, but I won't get into it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is like, there is a bit of an echo in Big Brother 14 to you mentioned like you're told by the Brigade, they've been working together, this is it for you. It's not the same experience, but obviously on Big Brother 14, Dan does his funeral and you're like, oh crap, I'm screwed. And then you have to sit there for a few days waiting for,
Yes, I sure did. I did at least throw the Hail Mary pass on my way out. I did like muster up some sort of an argument that completely fell on deaf ears, but I gave it a shot. But it was a different scenario because like, yes, like I was working with Dan, Danielle, and Shane, but the reason that we were really working together was because Danielle and Shane were in a showmance or like a semi-showmance, and that was like the cohesive factor. It wasn't built on like inherent trust.
You were like two parents of like children that were dating.
Like I was never like, oh, that Dan, he's got my back. Like I never felt super.
Well, I mean, you were like Hayden with Matt when Frank won that HOH. You were like, here's my opportunity.
It is, man.
Oh, well, too bad. Yeah, exactly. Like, so it was a different situation. If anything, like Ian was really the one that I was closer to on season 14 and that I would have like rode hard for. Yeah. But, and with Dan, what worked out so well for him, and I will always like give him his credit, is that he would take the time to individually get to know everybody. He's so good at this. Like if you watch him play the game, when you have a conversation with Dan, you realize when you leave that the whole conversation was about you. He asks you questions. Like he's never talking about himself. He's asking you, and that makes you feel important. Like you feel like you matter to him. Like you're like, oh wow, Dan's so interested in me. Well, he would do this with everybody, even people that I wouldn't even like. I was like, oh, they're not going anywhere in the game, so who cares? AKA, I'm trying to say it without saying it, but Jen City, who ultimately was my demise. But like, I never sat there and really like had these long conversations with Jen City. I wrote her off as being like irrelevant in the game because she wasn't winning anything. She wasn't really strategizing. Like she was a floater. And so I didn't like really value the time spent with her. And that is where Dan would spend time with every single person. And then when the moment struck and Jen City actually freaking won something, Guess who had her in the pocket? Not
Yep.
me, not the girl who was like, yeah, she'll never win anything. No, it was Dan. And he was able to go to her. And the reason that it resonated with her was because he really had like cultivated some sort of a social relationship. And so I will always say, like, he worked so hard. Like, even when he's just having a conversation with somebody, he's actually working. Like, he's actually doing, like, strategizing. Like, there's a point to it. Even when it seems effortless and it seems like he just cares about her first guitar that she got for Christmas when she was 7. Like, no, there's like a reason that he's doing that. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm like, yeah, no, I'm tired. I'm gonna hit the stack at 9. I don't really care about your childhood Christmas. I got to go to bed. Dan like really worked that. And that is what ultimately saved him at the time of his funeral, was that foundation that he had laid.
Yeah, and you can see
it's
where
missed.
like, well, on the traders, obviously you have a lot less time to talk to people.
A fraction. I mean, your average day on the traders of actual gaming is probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah,
It's incredibly short.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Not great if that's your superpower is small talk with.
Yeah, like really getting people interested and invested. No, he was so good at that. But that is the late nights. It's the nights that you stay up till 3 a.m. in the backyard just talking about nothing. I mean, that's really important. And it also, I think, differentiates, well, I mean, not completely, but I think that the reason that you see more effective, like blindside type gaming in Survivor is because they vote each other out so fast. And because, they only have to lie to each other's faces for like a few hours versus like an entire week or at least several days on Big Brother. Like from the time they come back from their immunity challenge, it's 4 hours till tribal or whatever. So they are able to like make this quick flip and decide, okay, we're going to get rid of this person. And we don't have to lie to them for very long. Whereas on Big Brother, that veto meeting takes place on Monday and you don't evict till Thursday. And it's so much longer for you to sit there and stew in thought and like really process it and have to lie right to that person's face. And it makes it more difficult to pull off those type of moves because that's really hard to do. It's really hard.
That's why it was funny watching Suri play Big Brother, because like every 4 hours she was changing the plan. She was like,
playing a Survivor episode.
Because it moves so slow. Like the time moves so slow. And so sometimes, like when I threw my Hail Mary and tried to stay in 14, I didn't do it till Thursday morning when I woke up. Because it was like, if you give people too much time, they'll come around and then change their mind again. And so it's like, it's also like a bit of a timing thing. Like you're like, what's the right time to actually throw this information out there where it won't wear off? Because everything like cycles in and out. If you give people too much time, they'll make a different decision.
I mean, there are a lot of seasons of Big Brother. It's like Wednesday night, and that's when it comes alive. But then Tuesday, Monday, it's a little dormant.
Yeah.
Well, every season has their own sort of rhythm too.
They do.
Like, but speaking of Dan, one of, I think, your longest lasting sort of legacies outside of like your own character on Big Brother is that you did coin the term mist, Dan's Mist.
Dan sold candles that were called Dan's Mist, and I did not. I did not
receive any royalties.
Not a one.
Well, should we grab Andrew? Not Andrew. Should we grab maybe Xavier can help out? And
maybe because my royalty check from CBS is the same. I've gotten 0 from Dan, 0 from CBS. I've seen none, and I did coin it. Thank you for acknowledging that, because the candles apparently sold like hotcakes.
And it's gone on. Like people now just use the term mist to talk about like good players, persuading people. So
and Dan is a great player. I have played with a lot of people, and I can tell you there's a big difference in the greats and the inferiors. Dan is a great player. There's
a difference between a Dan and a Frank,
There's a bit. I mean, even Frank in his own way is his own type of good player, very, very different than Dan. But, I mean, really, even truly, Boogie was pretty good too. And he did not play the same way as Dan as far as like, he couldn't sell you an argument on a relationship or trust, but he could sell you an argument on how it was good for you. And we don't have to trust each other to make this move, but it will be in your best interest. And he was actually quite good at that. I mean, he really was. Like, I'll give him his credit for that. People can be good in different ways, but Dan is incredible on like a social level. He's an incredible player.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back to Big Brother 12. That was a very fun diversion, though.
Just, more to talk about in 2 weeks when you get on to season 14.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh man, it's fun to have Britney here, but I have like Big Brother 14 questions too, but I feel like we've already asked many of them already. So, all right. So Britney, you're out here at the final four. The Brigade makes it to the final three together. They compete in the final three HOH. Hayden wins it and he evicts Enzo, which, ostensibly is a mistake. And it's based on what you're saying, and this was true at the time. There was this idea that Enzo was going to crush a jury vote. Enzo himself,
everyone thought so.
I think Enzo himself continued to believe that for years. Might still.
No, that was that is what everyone thought was true for sure.
And I think a lot of fans thought that too. Like a lot of fans after the season were like, "Oh, Enzo came so close."
That was the sentiment. I remember watching it thinking, "Oh, he was this close. He probably would have won against anybody."
Mm-hmm.
That's what we thought.
Yeah. But that was it for Enzo. I mean, Enzo, for as much as like he, I think, is often sort of seen as he contributed the least to the Brigade because he didn't have like his person, he didn't have his parachute. And he wasn't going to win a jury vote, so stuff like that. I think something that we talked a lot about on Big Brother All Stars 2 is that like he is very good at just as Sam would say in Survivor, in the last season of Survivor, he's a great glue guy. Enzo, because Enzo is great at just like keeping a group together and coherent. And also like establishing an environment in the game that is like, hey guys, we're just here to chill and have fun and tell goofy stories. Like we don't need to be scheming and gaming all the time. And then he'll go in a corner and start scheming and gaming.
And he's so loyal, and his loyalty is like never questioned by his group.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Agree. Yeah.
But ultimately not usually a game winning kind of strategy. So Hayden and Lane go to the final. Go ahead.
He's allegedly out on the Amazing Race right now, so he gets the last laugh.
Oh yeah,
allegedly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I'm surprised after the challenge showing, to be honest. But what are you gonna do?
I know. Isn't that funny?
I mean, I guess it was memorable. I don't remember much else from that season of the challenge.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to Lane and Hayden, and this is a very close vote. It's a 4-3. Of course, I'm sure Brittany, you're aware of the stories that are told about this very famous vote, that you might have had some influence over Rachel and Brendan in voting for Lane.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, of course, I advocated for him. I'm pretty good at making an argument, and I could make a good, decent argument about his game, but I don't know why they think there was some sort of collusion. What's the rumor? Tell me.
The rumor was that you told Rachel and Brendan that Hayden made jokes about Brendan's small
toe.
His small toe. I'm sure.
Needle, I think needle was a description. Needle.
Oh, did I say that about Hayden? I think I did. But if I did, it was the truth and it was accurate. It wasn't a tactic. It was the truth. Like, I wouldn't just make that up. Like, oh, guess what? Like, no, like it would have been, the truth. But I mean, of course, like, I'm sorry, but Brendan was kind of like a punching bag. I think that there were a lot of jabs going around. But if I said that he said it, then he did. I wouldn't just flat out make that up.
I mean, it wouldn't
Mhm.
shock me given like just the tip and everything else. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Hayden had a silver tongue. He would say things too. He was sharp.
Sure. I don't know necessarily exactly if it like maybe it did. Maybe that's what caused him to vote for Lane. I don't know.
I'd always heard that Brendan and Rachel voted for Lane more so because they thought that Hayden was going to win anyway. So they were like, let's just make it close. But
Oh, really?
I've never talked to them. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really.
I guess we got to clear this up. We got to ask Rachel and Brendan.
Get Rachel
Sure.
in here
Get
for
her on
season.
Although
next
I'm not sure that they would be like thrilled to talk about.
Wow, that's true.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, we voted for Lane because Hayden said these things.
Oh yeah, that's funny. You should get her on and ask her, hey, we have a question. Brittany wanted to know.
Just quick question.
But yes, very, very close vote. Of course, you along with Rachel and Brendan vote for Lane, but everyone else votes for Hayden. Did you feel like Lane had a shot? Did you think that he might be able to win here?
I mean, Hayden's resume was so stacked with so many wins that was going to be really difficult. And Lane had not won. Did he win anything?
He won like an HOH.
Oh,
he got
Reagan,
he won
the
Reagan.
the final five.
I just remember Hayden had a very, very stacked resume. And so I knew that it was going to be like close and tough. And that Enzo was going to be a factor.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like Hayden burned two people on the Brigade, Enzo and Matt. And if either of them had been bitter about that, it's game over. Lane wins.
Right. Exactly. So again, trying to predict that. Who knew? I voted for Lane because he was my number one person the whole time. I mean, I did the same thing in 14 with Ian, even though like I love Dan, thought that Dan was so good as a player, but I guess I'm just a little weenie baby, a little softie who likes to vote for my BFFs.
No, I think that's actually a good point of conversation that a lot of fans out there don't fully get. I think that if you start telling the jury how they have to vote, like suddenly you feel like you're being a little weenie baby for voting for Ian, but you have every right to vote for. You bonded with Ian, you were close to Ian, you liked the. It's like the same thing with Lane. Doesn't matter how many comps they win or whatever. It's ultimately like you want to vote for these reasons, and that's valid. That's it.
Well, I think the reason
I just wanted to see Ian win so badly.
Right? Too. You know, that's such an overpowering, like that's what you want, and that's exactly why you should vote for him.
Yeah.
I think like the reason the fans who are like frustrated with the season 14 jury vote I don't think they really, and maybe you disagree, but I don't think they really care about your vote because you at least were like, yeah, Dan did play amazing. You guys are idiots. I just like Ian more, which is just honest.
I think they were very frustrated by the whole, like, like, is the jury tainted? Like, why is nobody voting for Dan thing? And I mean, the truth is, if we're just laying out the facts, it's because Frank was really influential and really anti-Dan. And he had ears, you know, like people would listen to what he had to say.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. And he was very, very burned and very bitter. And so was Shane. Oh my God. Shane was
super bitter.
bitter. Yes.
Shane Shane was already counting the money, planning out his retirement.
So hard. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Crazy. You know, some people will say like, oh, that's part of the game. You got to know your jury. I think juries are crazy difficult to predict. So I would never purport that like I could do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Hayden does win the jury vote here, and he really like it's hard to deny. I remember as soon as it was your HOH when Matt left, I was like, yeah, game's over. Hayden. Yeah. I just don't see how Hayden loses.
Yeah.
And of course, that's exactly how it went. Hayden was just in such a dominating position. He was not the guy who came up with the idea. He was not the guy that brought everyone together, but he was the guy who was the best at getting everyone to trust him just enough for him to maneuver his way to where he needed to be. Because this was always like this is an issue for these kinds of alliances, is that like you can be really powerful as an alliance, but what is the incentive to stay together all the way to the end when it really only ends up benefiting one person? You know, whoever is set up the best. And Hayden was set up the best. He was the one who had Enzo the closest to him. He had Lane the closest to him. And then even Matt had a blind spot for Hayden. And that meant that Hayden was always benefiting the most from the Brigade. But nobody else was able to see it that way because they all thought they were the one that was with Hayden.
Exactly.
To the point where you had Lane like bringing you in to make you feel like you were also a one with Hayden. And and Matt thought, and Matt never, Matt has said he never thought he was like Hayden's one person, but he also never thought he was going to be targeted by Hayden. And that's again, like, I think Hayden knew that he didn't fully have Matt like that. So he did cross that line and targeted Matt before. And so it was a really well played game by Hayden. And I think it's so fascinating that this is like the highest level strategic formula that we've really seen in Big Brother to date. And the beneficiary of it is one of the biggest examples of a player who had no idea what Big Brother was before he showed up to the house. And it's just it's very interesting. Of course, he goes on to play Survivor and has a great run. And quite frankly, people forget this, but he really did. You know, he was in a spot where if he had just got like a vote or two further, he's in a spot to win that game. But it was just not just based on the tribe wins. He didn't have a majority, so he was in trouble.
I watched Survivor for the longest time after, like, I had quit watching it for a long time. And then when he was on it is when I started watching again, and then continued to watch it for many years after his season. So he got me like back into Survivor.
There you go. But yeah, a great winner. I think that he gets forgotten. I think that like for a little while afterward, he was always seen as like, you know, Hayden, he's like a top 4, top 5 winner. He's a boring winner, but he was very dominant. I think that like now that it's been, you know, this was 2010, so it's been 15 years. It's like, you know, being boring.
You've had
I think
come in. You've had Derek come in. You've had enter all these other people that people really hold in high esteem.
And even the Brigade formula has been sort of improved upon and done better now. So it's like, you know, he definitely is forgotten in the mix of that, but a very impressive win for sure by Hayden. Even if he was probably the least entertaining member of the Brigade.
I think so. I thought about that too. I'm like, you know, I like the Brigade. They all have their own little flavor too. I'm like, Hayden's just like the everyman. He's just kind of there.
Well, he was like the athlete. He was like the baseball player.
Yeah, he got along with everyone.
Called himself a ladies' man in the, I think, the first
ladies'
episode.
man. All right.
Yeah. Very fun. Yeah. What a trip down memory lane. What a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, so right. Can I plug my Patreon now?
Please. Yes.
If you want to dive deeper, I'm doing week by week recaps of season 12. I posted my first episode for it today that covers the premiere episode. I literally posted it like 4 hours ago. So it's on my Patreon account, Patreon Britney Haynes. And we will be going through the entirety of season 12 week by week. There you go. Go check it out.
Yes. Definitely going to be a lot more detail than this one.
Because gonna go, and also you and I have different concern for details. Like you're like, this is who won, and I'm like, oh my god, but what about this time when Kathy was cackling when Andrew said? So we're talking about different
Oh yeah.
I just glaze over who won things, and it's more about the fun.
Well, Brittany, there is one thing to do with winning left to do, which is who is going to be on this season's DVD cover. And listen, I don't think
12?
For season 12, yeah.
Do I get to? Am I casting a vote or am I predicting?
Who do you think? Who do you think should be on the cover?
Rachel. Rachel. Is it who I want or it's who I think people are going to choose?
I
Because
mean,
I
I
want
think it's-
Kathy. I want
I think who
Kathy
you want
in
is
the
better.
caramel at the bottom.
Like,
I
who do you want?
Kathy actually laying in the caramel at the bottom of the DVD. And then Rachel with her floaters grab a life vest and the boxing ring on this one side. And then on the other side, I kind of want Matt when he is forming the brigade.
Okay.
That's like
the three big
scenario.
moments of the season.
Yeah. But can he be saying, like, let's start the brigade, but be wearing the onesie with the extension?
A little chat bubble.
That's my dream. Yeah, that's my
I'll make
dream
sure to
scenario.
include some specific requests.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And if you could send me those copies of the DVDs, I actually don't own those. So that would be great.
Well, there's just
If
the
they're
cover
real.
stuff.
No, I want 60 DVDs. Okay. All right.
All right.
It's been a good
Peridiam.
time.
Who do I think? I don't know. Hayden is an easy one to put because he's the winner. Rachel, she's iconic. Why not even put Britney up there? Like, if you ask me who I think is going to get up there, I honestly could say like those. I think it could be you three. Partially the bias right here. You're here in the podcast. How could you not vote for Britney right now?
We're putting our thumb on the scale right now.
The thumb is
But
firmly on
instead
the
of-
scale.
I give up my spot for Kathy, please. Please put Kathy on this cover.
The voters
Like,
have to hear that.
I want the voters to actually, if you were going to vote me, I want you to switch your vote to Kathy.
Vote for her
and make me
mom.
happy. Please. I'm begging you.
Okay.
Personally, I genuinely, and this is with or without Britney on the podcast. I think Britney and Rachel are requirements, and then I think you pick one person from the brigade. It can be Matt, it can be Hayden. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want Kathy. I'm riding for Kathy tonight. Kathy Hillis. Type it in.
All right. Well, go to robbinswebsite.com/BB retrospective to cast your vote. Who should be on the poster for this season? Britney, thank you so much for spending so much time with us and talking about this season.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Since I invited myself.
I gotta say, Britney, I got into Big Brother thanks to season 12, and
love that.
I was rooting for you the whole time. And I will personally say, like, I eventually turned my love for the show into a YouTube channel that garnered. I have 162,000 followers at the moment.
Amazing. That's awesome.
I've been doing this for 8 years. And I'm like, I contribute a part of that to season 12. It's my darling that it could have been, I guess, any season, but it was season 12 and it was rooting for you more than anyone else. I was rooting for you to figure it out or to win that Final Four veto, to do something. And unfortunately it didn't work, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And here we are today. So I just want to say, like, in person, this is like 15 years in the making. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you. I love that story. Have you gone back and watched like earlier than 12? Have you watched like season 7?
I have. I've watched them all now. I haven't watched the feeds or anything because it's in the past. But I did watch the other ones as well. So.
Big Brother used to be such a good show. You know what I mean?
There's a bit of that feeling of like, these are the golden days. These are the glory days.
Well, Peridiam, now, so you mentioned this, that, she inspired you. She's partially responsible. So unlike Dan, royalties, right? How many of those 100,000
I will
subscribers?
I'll send a check in the mail.
How much do I get per subscriber? You said 162,000. I was listening. Okay.
I'll figure out the numbers in the downtime after the podcast. We'll see about writing a check.
Okay, that sounds good. I love.
I'll look at any video with Big Brother 12 in it, and I'll see the views, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. I look forward to receiving that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. I'll be back next week, of course, to talk about Big Brother 13. Quite an interesting one. Lots more Rachel Riley for sure. And plenty of other stuff to check out over on my Twitch channel and YouTube and all the stuff I'm doing there. Peridiam, where can people find you?
YouTube.com/Peridiam. Every week, new video. Survivor's on air. I'm talking Survivor. Big Brother's on air. I'm talking Big Brother. Haven't stopped, won't be stopping anytime soon. Got 2025 fleshed out. And if you want to hear my voice talking about a very specific subject about Survivor, tune in next Wednesday. I'll be there. So
awesome.
And of course, Britney's Patreon, again, she's going to be going through season 2. I personally can't think of anybody I'd rather hear talk through their season than Britney. So I will be tuning in myself for sure. So make sure you head over there and check out what she's doing. Anything else to plug, Brittany?
Nope, that's it. That's all I'm hawking these days.
All right. Well, thank you all once again for joining us here today, and we will see all of you next time.
Guys.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.